The sun painted the eastern sky, casting golden light across the West Philippine Sea. For Manglito and his crew aboard the FB Princess Maya, this was a familiar sight. The small wooden banca bobbed gently on the waves, the air salty and cool. This was their sanctuary, their source of life. Generations had sailed these waters, lives tied to the tides and the sea's bounty. Their day began before sunrise, a ritual passed down through fathers and sons. They prepared their nets with practiced hands, sharing stories over strong coffee. The sea was part of their identity, its moods and secrets respected. Near Iroquois Reef, the waters promised a good catch to feed families and supply markets. On October 22, 2025, everything felt normal. The weather was perfect, the sea generous. They pulled in a net heavy with fish, faces lit with satisfaction. Miles from shore, they felt at home. This patch of ocean was theirs, a place where hard work paid off. They were simple fishermen, not politicians or soldiers. Their concerns were practical fuel prices, fish stocks, boat safety. Geopolitical tensions felt distant, like a storm on a far-off horizon. They'd heard stories of Chinese vessels chasing fishermen. But today, the sea was peaceful, the horizon empty. They were Filipinos making an honest living in waters their ancestors had plied for centuries. The world of international disputes felt a million miles away. The peace shattered without warning. A low, guttural roar filled the air, growing louder. It was a sound that did not belong here. The fishermen paused, scanning the sky. At first they saw nothing, but the sound grew, vibrating through their boat. Then they appeared. Two sleek, gray fighter jets streaked across the horizon. Chinese warplanes. They tore through the sky above the FB Princess Maya. The boat rocked violently, tossing the men off balance. The jets circled back, performing a low pass. Manglito and his crew saw the pilots, faceless figures behind dark visors. The message was clear. You are not welcome here. The fishermen scrambled for cover, hearts pounding. The sky, once a symbol of peace, now felt like a cage. The jets were dragons of steel, claiming the air as their own. The planes made one final sweep before vanishing. They left behind a ringing silence, broken only by the fishermen's gasps. The intrusion was a brutal violation of their world. As the shock subsided, the fishermen noticed something else. Near Sabina Shoal, large objects bobbed on the surface, massive buoys, painted industrial yellow. They looked official, permanent. As their boat drifted closer, they saw Chinese characters. These were not simple markers. They were declarations. Each buoy was a claim, asserting sovereignty over waters within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. They formed a clear perimeter, a line drawn in the water, a silent, calculated act of aggression. The buoys were like flags on conquered land, a physical manifestation of the 9-dash line. The sight sent a fresh wave of dread through the crew. The warplanes were a fleeting terror, but these buoys were constant, a symbol of China's presence. Manglito felt anger and helplessness. This shoal was vital for fish, a place his community depended on. Now, it was being cordoned off by a foreign power. The buoys represented a direct threat to his livelihood. Panic gripped the men on the FB Princess Maya. The initial shock gave way to frantic discussion. Manglito knew they couldn't just run. He fumbled for his satellite phone, hands shaking. He needed to call the Philippine Coast Guard. The signal was weak, but he had to try. His voice was strained as he got through to the Coast Guard. He quickly explained the situation. Chinese warplanes flew right over us, he stammered. And there are big buoys with Chinese writing around Sabina Shoal. The Coast Guard officer listened intently, tone urgent. The fear on the boat was palpable. The younger fishermen looked to Manglito for guidance. They were just fishermen, armed with nets, not weapons. The sea, once a source of freedom, now felt like a trap. They decided to pull back, keeping the buoys in sight. They used phones to document the evidence. This was no longer just about a day's catch. It was about their right to be there at all. They were witnesses to an invasion, with a responsibility to tell their story. The news from Manglito's call hit the Coast Guard like a lightning bolt. The reports were alarming. A brazen incursion involving military aircraft and markers. Emergency meetings were convened. The first action was to dispatch assets to the area. The BRP Gabriela Salang was ordered to sail at full speed. Its mission: verify the report, document the presence, assert sovereignty. The deployment was swift and decisive. The government needed to show it would not abandon its citizens. As the BRP Gabriela Silang approached, the situation became tense. They confirmed the presence of the buoys. Several Chinese Coast Guard vessels patrolled nearby. A dangerous standoff ensued. The Filipino crew stood their ground, broadcasting radio challenges. Back in Manila, diplomatic gears were turning. The Department of Foreign Affairs lodged a formal protest. The incident was declared a matter of grave national concern. The nation held its breath as the standoff continued. This incident was not isolated. It was a classic example of China's gray zone tactics, coercive actions that fall short of war, changing the status quo, a strategy of 1,000 cuts, normalizing China's presence. History provides a clear context. China has used this playbook in the South China Sea for years. The seizure of Mischief Reef, the standoff at Scarborough Shoal, massive fleets, maritime militia, harassment of exploration activities. The deployment of warplanes marks a dangerous escalation. It blurs the line between law enforcement and military operations. It signals Beijing's growing confidence. This pattern challenges international law. UNCLOS grants coastal states an exclusive economic zone. Iroquois Reef and Sabina Shoal are within the Philippines' EEZ. By placing buoys and deploying warplanes, China attacks the rules-based order. It is not just harassment, it is a fundamental challenge. The rules-based international order ensures stability for all nations. China's actions threaten this order. The news spread like wildfire across the Philippines. It dominated news broadcasts and social media. Images captured by Mang Lito's crew sparked national outrage. For many, it was a personal affront, a story of bullies threatening livelihoods. The hashtag on Atin Ang West PHSEA trended, a digital rallying cry. The impact on fishing communities was immediate. Fear kept many boats docked. Fishermen were afraid to venture into traditional grounds. The economic cost was real. How can we make a living if we are scared for our lives? One asked. Their stories resonated, transforming a geopolitical issue into a human drama. Civil society groups organized protests. Rallies were held in front of the Chinese consulate. People from all walks of life came together. They demanded China respect Philippine sovereignty. The public mood was a mix of anger and pride. The West Philippine Sea is part of their national identity. The sight of a foreign power claiming territory ignited a sense of injustice. It was about national honor and the future of the Philippines. A powerful call for unity echoed across the Philippines. Political divisions began to fade. Leaders issued joint statements condemning China's actions. On national sovereignty, there could be no division. This was about patriotism. The crisis forged a rare moment of national consensus. The voices of ordinary Filipinos became crucial. Fishermen's groups became powerful advocates. Their testimonies put a human face on the conflict. Academic experts and retired officials urged a principled stand. Public opinion created a strong mandate for action. There was a growing recognition of the need for alliances. The incident reminded the Philippines it could not face this alone. Calls to strengthen the Mutual Defense Treaty grew louder. Public support for security partnerships increased. A network of alliances was seen as the most effective deterrent. The government accelerated military modernization. The crisis acted as a catalyst. It forced the nation to focus on the external threat. National security depends on internal resolve and international friends. The standoff did not go unnoticed by the international community. The world is watching. Statements of concern poured in from capitals. The U.S. reaffirmed its commitment to the Philippines. It condemned China's behavior and called for adherence to the arbitral ruling. Other key players issued similar statements. The stakes are high, extending beyond the Philippines. The South China Sea is a critical waterway. Over 1/3 of global shipping passes through it. Any conflict could have catastrophic consequences. Freedom of navigation is a vital interest for the world. China's attempt to control the waterway is a threat to global commerce. This crisis is a test for the international community. If a nation can redraw boundaries without consequence, it sets a dangerous precedent. It signals a return to might makes right. The response will have implications for other flashpoints. The drama is more than a dispute over fishing rights. It is a defining moment for the century. A struggle between two visions of world order. The world's attention is fixed on these waters, waiting to see which will prevail.